This season from the 76ers has been nothing short of a disaster. Paul George has already been injured twice, Maxey missed some time and has really struggled when he's been in the rotation, and the same goes for Embiid, who's only played in 4 games but clearly has not looked like the Embiid we know. They're dead last in the East with a record of 2-12. They've had some locker room drama, and yet through all of that turmoil, there's been one overwhelming positive with the play of 16th overall pick Jared McCain. McCain's big draw coming into the NBA was his outside shooting. In his 1 year at Duke, he shot an impressive 41.4% from 3 in 210 attempts. And to start his rookie season, he's picked up right where he left off, making 41% of his first 78 attempts. The shot making itself is very impressive. Not only is he a guy that absolutely can't be left open when spotting up, he's showcased some serious versatility, whether that means pulling from extended range, whether that means coming off a screen and setting his feet on the move, or even when the ball is in his hands and he's expected to self-create these opportunities off the dribble. And because he's capable of getting into threes in a wide variety of ways, that's why he's able to get them off at such great volume. On the season, he's attempting over 9 3-pointers every 75 possessions, which lands him in the 90th percentile among all players, and ahead of some notable volume shooters like Norman Powell, Trae Young, James Harden, and Tyrese Halliburton. One thing that really stands out about his outside shooting is his confidence. That's especially easy to notice whenever the Sixers are playing in transition, as he's actively hunting for the 3-point line and will still take the shot even if it's a tight window. So when spotting up, he's a guy who demands constant attention, or if not, will draw very hard closeouts, to which he'll often let them fly by before taking a dribble to regroup. And that ability to shoot off the dribble opens the door for all sorts of action. One thing they like to do is start him in the corner and bring him towards the ball with a handoff, and if nobody picks him up, he'll use all of that space to step into a triple. With that said though, most of his threes do come off the catch and off of movement, but not in the way you'd typically think. McCain's superpower is that he's a genius with his positioning along the perimeter and is constantly relocating or filling out space to make himself an easy target on kickout passes. Take this play for example. When Martin attacks the paint, McCain is spotted up deep on the wing. Then as soon as the ball gets under the basket, he sinks to the corner, and you'll notice that Josh Hart actually starts to close out to the wrong spot. That results in a wide open 3, although he's unable to convert on this one. His knack for filling out space is especially prominent whenever he starts with the ball. On this transition drive, he kicks it out to George, and before George even catches the ball, he's already sprinting back out. Nobody chases him, and he's left with a great look, this time knocking it down. A lot of these plays are very Steph Curry-esque. He gets under the basket on a drive, kicks it out, and never even breaks stride, following his own pass to the corner where he's able to comfortably catch and shoot. I'd also like to mention that this smart movement isn't exclusive to perimeter relocation. If he sees an opportunity to cut, he'll do so with great timing and positioning, and in general, it just feels like he's always in the right spot at the right time. On this one, the Knicks are in a zone, and watch McCain as he moves around, eventually finding space in the middle of the floor where he can catch and quickly make an entry pass to Joel Embiid down low. A combination of shooting ability, movement, and quick decision making has turned him into an awesome connector. When there isn't an angle for Yabusele to hit Embiid with an entry pass, he can move it to McCain to make that pass instead, and the result's an easy finish. It's incredibly rare for a rookie to be this advanced away from the ball. Some of it is just instincts. Nothing's happening here and the Sixers look bottled up, but with a timely baseline cut, McCain's able to collapse the defense, leaving Maxey all alone on the perimeter as he buries a jumper. The thing is, while McCain's already shown to be an immensely talented off-ball player, because of Philly's situation, he's been asked to do a lot more. Tyrese Maxey and Paul George have both missed 6 games with injury. Joel Embiid's missed 10 and has looked like a fraction of himself in the time he has played, so instead of serving as a number 4 option, playing off of the gravity of those stars, he's had to spend a lot of time as a number 2 or even a number 1, and this is where he's showcased some truly remarkable stuff. Over his last 6 games, he hasn't scored under 20 points a single time. In that stretch, he's averaging 25.5 points and 4.5 assists on 66.1% true shooting. That's not just good for a 20-year-old, that's not just good for a rookie, that's all-star level production, and he's doing it on a team that's starved of offensive talent. I mentioned how they like to start him in the corner and bring him towards the middle with a handoff. Well, that isn't just to create space from 3. I think he's a guy who can really benefit from the gravity of Embiid as a roller. You'll notice that Cat makes no effort to step in front of the ball, leaving McCain with an easy driving lane down the middle of the floor, but I also think McCain has some pretty interesting tools as a driver. For one, he's really good at decelerating, which when flying off of handoffs is a great way to redirect his momentum and find those attack angles. This time he actually starts with the ball in his hands as they set up an empty corner pick and roll, and Suggs easily gets over the screen, staying right with him every step of the way. Then that deceleration comes in handy, slamming the brakes while pulling back to create separation before up faking and stepping into a layup. It seems pretty obvious, but I should mention anyways that the ability to stop on a dime like this, when paired with his touch as a shooter, has led to some pretty nice mid-range scoring. And the fact that he is such a good shooter helps create these lanes to attack in the first place. On this one, he uses a left-hand hesitation to threaten the pull-up before quickly changing speeds to get around the slower-footed defender. This time it's in transition, and same thing. He starts to hunt for the 3-point line, hesitates with the left-hand dribble, then attacks on a drive as he gets to a layup. With that said though, it's worth noting that he isn't a super explosive athlete. He doesn't have that lightning quick first step to create automatic advantages, which means that a lot of defenders are able to slide their feet and keep him in front. One thing I absolutely love about McCain's game though is the way he'll go into the body of these defenders and use contact to create separation. Like on this play, he tries to drive right, which Ron Holland cuts off with ease. Instead of looking to kick the ball or reset though, he continues with that drive right, fighting through physicality, which eventually results in a runway to the rim. This willingness to play through contact, when paired with the deceleration and some crafty ball handling, still allows him to generate paint touches even without a ton of explosiveness, although I do think the finishing leaves a bit to be desired. As things currently stand, he's made just 57.5% of his shots at the rim, and although it's still a relatively small sample, I have picked up on a few concerns. Let's start with the obvious. The lack of explosion is just gonna lead to lower quality shots, not only because it's more difficult for him to leave defenders in the dust, but because he doesn't have the vertical pop to get up and finish through the trees. He's pretty sturdy for his size, which helps, but isn't very lengthy, meaning that the types of angles he can get to on the floor is pretty limited. As a result, he's typically forced to quickly release the ball from down low in tight windows, which is just hard to do. I actually think it's, again, pretty comparable to Steph, but Steph has maybe the best touch around the rim we've ever seen. For anyone else, a heavy diet of high arcing scoops is incredibly tough, especially when you aren't ambidextrous. I think McCain's very right hand dominant on his layups, so sometimes he'll have an angle to go up with the left and try to force a much tougher look with the right. That really stands out whenever he's driving on the left side of the floor because he'll almost always attempt to finish with the inside hand. And when you're looking to scoop with the inside hand while lacking length, great shot blockers won't have trouble targeting the ball. One thing I would like to note though is that even if he isn't converting at a high level at the rim, virtually any shot at the rim is a good one, and it's an awesome sign that he's already getting there at a consistent rate. He's currently averaging about 5.5 shots at the rim every 75 possessions, which is a high mark for a guard, and more than some notable names like Russell Westbrook, Julius Randle, Jalen Green, and even Jaylen Brown. Even more impressive though is the fact that he's been asked to self-create almost all of these opportunities. On the season, only 28.9% of his 2-pointers have been assisted on, which is a testament to how good he's been in the pick and roll. He's one of those guys who really likes to reject screens, often setting his defender up with a hesitation before crossing over, and that creates a lane for him to attack as he gets to the rim. And to counter someone rejecting the screen, many defenders will sit back and go under it, but his pull-up 3-point shooting eliminates that option. The same goes for if his man gets clipped by the screen and the big is sitting back in a deep drop. He'll take advantage of that space every time. Ideally, you'd want someone to chase him off the line, funneling him into a drop big. He's already showcasing a pretty advanced in-between game though. You will have plays like this where he pauses to put his defender in jail, and a helper like OG Anunoby is able to bother him with a reach, but there are some high-level reps like this, hesitating and going back into Ja's body to trap him on his backside before driving into that open space for one of his signature scoop layups. And the way he uses pace in these spots also helps him a lot as a playmaker. He comes off this screen in a light jog, and because there isn't a passing angle to the roll right away, he takes an extra dribble to keep the big attached, then throws a beautiful dime to Drummond in the paint. That simple extra dribble is something all of the league's best creators have in their arsenal, and I can't stress enough how awesome it is to see from a 20-year-old. When the big meets him in drop, with the low man coming over to protect the rim, he could pull back out or use that space near the baseline to get to a midi. He chooses to take one more dribble down the lane, pulling multiple defenders with him, which clears the paint for a KJ Martin cut. This part of his game is definitely still a work in progress though. This time when he comes off the screen and Allen meets him early with a high drop, the shovel pass is available, but he misses that, continues on a wide right-hand drive, doesn't get anywhere, and turns it over. To me, it doesn't seem like he has the vision or processing speed to hit many of those high-level home run passes. Here he tries to manipulate the low man by staring down the corner, but Brunson reads it the whole way. That's not to say he can't make any advanced passes though. This time as they set up the ball screen, Porter Jr. very aggressively plays the nail, and McCain counters by skipping it over the top to Reggie Jackson on the opposite wing. I'd say playmaking out of the pick and roll is probably McCain's biggest swing skill and could determine how high his ceiling as an offensive player is. The second one is that interior scoring, because you don't want him to be the type of scorer that's reliant on jump shooting to carry his efficiency. As for everything else, he pretty much has it figured out, and it all comes down to improving on the margins. He's an incredible outside shooter with the movement and extra passing to play off of stars at a high level. He's a good ball handler who can get to the rim, score from the mid-range, and even self-create threes. All of this at 20 years old, only 14 games into his NBA career. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out the Hoop Venue podcast and my social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of McCain. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.